I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. And you'll see that on the screen, I have the Google folder for the class. And if we go to week 6, and I'm just showing you what I'm doing, you should be able to do this on your computers too. We're going to focus this week on how do you put a poster together. If you click on the PowerPoint, there are several folders in week 6. If you click on the PowerPoint, those are the slides, and there are very few of them that we're going to show. So let me slideshow. There we go. Okay. I spent a lot of time this week reorganizing the class schedule because it became apparent while we were in class last week that today was Rosh Hashanah. It's also obviously another holiday. And for the DataJam presentations of the mock DataJam projects, it's really good to have everybody in class. I wanted to make sure we were doing that when people were available, because it's one of the best learning opportunities on how to become a DataJam mentor that there is. And so I moved that from this week to next week. So if you look here at week 6, I decided that I would move up how do you make a poster presentation workshop to today, because all of you are going to need to make a poster of your mock DataJam project. And so it seemed like having a session on making posters was a really perfect timing. If we did that this week, then you can use that information, make your posters for next week. Next week, we will spend the entire time having you present your poster. What you want to do is prepare your poster. You want to upload it into the folder for the mock DataJam projects. There is a subfolder for posters. You want to make sure your poster is uploaded before class starts next week. So before 6 next week. And then we will let you do the presentations next week. We will have each team present. DataJam projects are judged, and we will spend a lot of time today with the judging rubric. But it is really, the teams do very well if every member of the team gets to participate in the presentation of their project. And so you should do the same thing. You have little teams of 3, 4 people. You want to make sure that each has a speaking part. And we will show your poster. You will be able to have the camera on you, the 4 of you or 3 of you that are on your project. And you want to divide up what you're going to say so that each of you gets a speaking part. And each of the teams will have 10 minutes to present, and then we will take questions from the audience. The teams would get questions from judges, but you get to be the teams and you get to be the judges. So you should get a very good sense of how the DataJam competition works. And that's how we'll spend time in week 7. And we'll give feedback. So you'll get 10 minutes to speak. You'll get time for questions. And then we'll give a little bit of feedback to each team. I think it will just be a fantastic learning experience. It has been every year so far. Effective mentoring with Catherine Cordova, teaching the effective mentoring and how do you actually go about being a really good mentor. She was the president last year of the National Society for Mentoring. I didn't know that existed, but I went to this meeting a year ago. It was fantastic. It brought in people from all over the country. She now works at the Honors College in community engagement, and she will be here on the 15th. She got moved back a week. So the schedule is very reorganized. But she will run a hands-on workshop where you will get to practice mentoring skills with each other. I think it will be a lot of fun. On the 9th, we will talk about how to work with diverse communities. The DataJam tries very hard to work with very diverse populations in the country. So we work with inner city groups, we work with schools in suburban areas, we work with schools in very rural areas, with immigrant communities, with schools that are specially designed to serve unhoused populations that are homeless. So it's really important as mentors that you learn how to work with these different populations of students, and you're not surprised to be assigned to mentor a team that's with a very rural population who doesn't have the same resources as perhaps an inner city or a more suburban population would have. We're have Beth Schwenke, who is the director of the Cyber Institute at the University of Pittsburgh and thinks a lot about cybersecurity and fairness in using data, public data. So what kind of data is collected by cities, by counties, by governments, and how do we make sure that it is equitable in its representation and it's equitably distributed to people? And these are big, important ethical issues in collecting vast amounts of data, and every place is collecting vast amounts of data. So getting you to think about these issues so that you can talk about it with your teams is important. Beth Schwenke is also a member of the board of directors of the DataJam. Then on week 11, I will talk about how to give an effective oral presentation, and that will become before you present mock DataJam 2, because remember, you're going to present both mock DataJam 1 and mock DataJam 2 in this class. The number 1, you prepare a poster. Number 2, you prepare a slide presentation. That way, you've had experience doing these things, and you can help your students with that. So you'll learn about that. On November 12th, Brian McDonald and Beth Bauer, who are both members of the board of directors. Brian's the president and Beth is the vice president of the board of directors of the DataJam. They both work in business, and they've worked in business their whole careers. And they'll talk about kind of the evolution of data science in business and how incredibly important it is now. And then on week 13, before Thanksgiving, you're going to present your second mock DataJam. And then the last week of this class is the week after Thanksgiving week. And students are going to present their end of the term project. And we'll talk more about the end of the term project over the next couple of weeks. But you want to be involved in making some sort of resource for the DataJam. So when you look at all the data set guides there are, and all the guides that are on the resources pages, all of those were produced by DataJam mentors taking this class. That you can do other things too. You can help with the social media campaign. And I'll introduce probably next week a bunch of ideas that we have for possible end of the term projects. you can work on these in small groups. You don't have to do this by yourself. We just want you to be involved in thinking about how do you make resources for DataJam teams, what's useful, and you'll be able to present that the last week of the class. So this is now up. I posted in the Google Drive, and I also emailed you all the revised syllabus. Are there any questions about the revisions? You're still getting to do all the same things. They're just in a slightly different order, but I think we were able to rework it to really work out well. I think it will be a very fun semester and hopefully very rewarding. I'm going to move on to what we're going to do today. And rather than me give you a lecture about how to put together an effective poster, we're going to run this like a workshop. I teach a course at the University of Pittsburgh called Speaking of Science, and it teaches effective science communication, how to give talks, but also how to put together posters that are effective. So I have lots of lecture material for giving you this kind of information. But I think that it will be a lot more fun and rewarding for you to run this as a workshop. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing we want you to pay attention to, and I wrote this as slides, and I put it right in the week 6 folder. So while you're working in your small groups tonight during the workshop, you can just quickly go to this slide and it'll be right in front of you. This is the poster guidelines from the DataJam guidebook that both high school and community college students get. This is exactly what they look at. So we require the posters be a set size. They have to be 24 by 36 inches. They can either be wide or they can be tall, but they can't be bigger than 3 by 3 feet. That puts everybody on equal footing. If you didn't do that, some teams would prepare huge posters and have lots of room. Some teams would make small posters. So we want it to be equal and fair for everybody. So you, for your poster for the mock DataJam, you need to follow these guidelines. Your poster should clearly display the title of your project, the full name of all team members, and the name of your school. And you can, if you're a team, can submit it right on the website. You guys should put it in the poster subfolder of the Google Drive for the Mock DataJam Project 1. Then there lists out what information should be on your poster. And there should be your research question, the hypothesis, what data set was used, a brief description of the analyses, and then graphs and diagrams to show the results of the analyses. We ask that the students have a section that talks about the challenges they faced or the limitations. So what was difficult? And that they need to have a conclusion. They need to summarize the results and make some sort of conclusion. If possible, make a recommendation based on the findings that they got. So what we're going to have you do today is on the next slide is the grading rubric. So traditionally, posters have been 75% of the total grade that teams get, and their oral presentation has been 25%. Over the years, we've decided this isn't really fair, and we are redoing the rubric so that the poster will now be worth 45%, and the presentation will be worth 55%. And the reason for that is the posters are turned in and judged by judges who are online, but there's no interaction with the team usually when posters are judged. Whereas the presentations are in Zoom meetings with judges and they get to ask questions. And so we're increasing the value of a presentation to account for the fact that there's not only presenting the project, you're getting to answer questions. What we're going to have you do tonight is to look at posters, and in the Google Drive for week 6, you'll see some subcategories, and I put downloads of every single poster for the last 10 years. So if you go to the high school folder, every year is listed. If you open that document, it's a PDF with every poster for that year. So you'll be able to look at a huge number of posters. And there's a separate folder for community college DataJam, and every poster that's ever been submitted for the community college DataJam is there. So you basically can look at every single poster submitted for the last 10 years. And we're going to ask you to select 6 posters in your small group. So this is your workshop assignment. You're going to look at posters submitted to the DataJam from 2015 to 2025. You're going to choose 6 posters. You have a huge number of posters to choose from. You're going to need to look at them to pick out 6. You're going to judge each of the 6 posters you settle on. I'd look at the posters and find them first, then kind of think about why they meet the criteria. You have 6 criteria for the posters you're looking for, and then judge them at the end. Then what we're going to have you do is make a PowerPoint presentation yourself. Each of the small groups should have a PowerPoint presentation with basically 6 slides that has the poster you selected for each of these categories. And you might put on there what the judging score was for them. So poster 1, find a poster that scores the highest using the judging rubric. So you're going to want to look back at that judging rubric. If we look here, for example, I'm right on uncover and use a variety of data sources. That's one scoring category. You would give the poster a 5 if the sources are varied, high quality, pertinent, sufficient to answer the question. You would give it a 3 if they're pertinent and sufficient, but more were required of higher quality. And you would give it a 1 if there were too few sources. You can also give a 2 and a 4, or you can give a 3.5 or a 3.75. You can have gradations as you want. We let judges do this as they want, but you're basically scoring between 1 and 5 for each of these categories. And then we weight the categories. So 12% of the weight goes to how well they found data sources. 16% goes to how well they formed a research question, etc. So find a poster that you think scores the highest. So you're going to want to look at those judging rubric and then look at the posters. And this is the best overall poster, basically. That may be the hardest one. You probably don't want to start with that one. Poster 2 is find a poster that scores the lowest using the judging rubric. And that, in a way, is somewhat easier to find. I mean, you want to look, but I think that that'll be a little easier for you. Poster 3 is find a poster that has the most sophisticated analytical approach to answering their research question. So traditionally, many teams have looked at correlations. they've done a correlation between an outcome parameter, what they're interested in, and maybe several causal parameters, but they've just done simple correlations. And when the DataJam started 12 years ago, that was what virtually every team was doing. But there has been more and more data science offered in schools. DataJam teams have participated in the DataJam year after year, and they're able to do much more sophisticated work. So in order to find poster 3, I strongly suggest that you might look at the posters that were submitted in 2024, 2025, because each year the analyses become more sophisticated. Poster 4 is find a poster that has the best use of graphics to show the results of analyses. This will probably not be hard to find. If you just start scanning through the posters, they will really stand out. Some posters have really spectacular graphic representations. Find a poster that shows the best use of color. That probably won't be hard to find either. And find a poster with the busiest background that distracts from the message the poster is conveying. That should be quite easy to find. And you would think there may only be a few to choose from, but you would be wrong. There are a reasonable number to choose from. Students, once they get going being creative, sometimes can be so creative that you see the background of the poster and you can barely figure out what they actually did from looking at that background. So you're going to basically take those 6 posters that you find, you're going to judge them, and then you're making your own team PowerPoint. You're going to upload that in, I'm going to go back here. Let's see. Here we have the different folders in here. So you're going to make a PowerPoint and you're going to put it in the week 6 assignments folder. Make sure you put the names of the people in your small group on it, but it can go right there. You won't have homework after class. This should be done during class. So this week, you'll turn that in, you'll be done for the week. All of the high school past posters are in the past high school poster. You see they're labeled by year. And if you click on this PDF, just has one poster after another listed. And then you have the past community college posters. So are there any questions about what you're doing? It Caldwell? Pretty clear? Okay, I'm going to give you a little over an hour. It's 7:30. We're going to have, you should have your assignment complete and uploaded into the week 6 assignments folder. So you basically have an hour. And then for the next hour, we're going to have you present. And we'll kind of go around both classrooms and we'll get several people to present poster 1 that they chose and what was their rationale for it and how did they grade it. And we'll do that for all 6 examples. But basically the second hour, you guys are going to present. I think that it will be a really good learning opportunity for you to think about what are the things that you thought made a poster really good and what made a poster not so good. And I think you'll learn it in a much more fun way than if I stood up here and lectured to you. Does that make sense? Okay. If we're missing people, you may have to form groups that you haven't formed before, and that is fine. Okay, we have an hour. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started in our discussion. You want to put your last updates on your slides. I think, and we'll see if this works, the easiest way might be for me to open your presentations and then share the screen so everybody can see posters, and then the different people who have worked on them can talk us through it. So why don't we start with poster 1? This was what you thought was the best overall poster that you would have scored the highest. Does somebody want to start?
Someone from Paula, who wants to go? Come on, you're all going.
You all did it.
You all did. Let's go. Who wants to start? Go. Thank you.
Who is this?
Come stand over here.
Tell me who you are, because I have to get to your poster.
What group are you?
The second one.
Okay.
Yep. You can do it from over there. They're going to control it. So you can go sit down over there. You can sit over there and
Okay. Here you go.
But we didn't do we didn't get to number 4 yet.
You just do number 1. You're doing the first one. Number 1. Which is your best poster and why?
So as you can see here, as you can see here, I chose this because
You chose as a group.
as a group, because it marks down all 5 categories of the rubric. It's clear, it's original, and has thoughtful research questions.
What was this? You gave it a score of 5 across the board.
Yeah. It's very,
Wow.
It has a lot of things included inside of it, like all the quality information that you need to see.
Yeah. I think this poster is spectacular. It scored. I don't remember if it won first or second place. This was a poster from the very first community college DataJam competition in the spring, I believe, of 2023. But it was a fantastic poster. I agree. What really stands out to me is how clear the categories are marked. I mean, you know exactly where to look for the question, the methods. And they have to go ahead.
To find any detailed piece of information that you're specifically looking for. It's all organized well. The visualizations look good too.
Good job.
Good. That's great. Okay. I want to hear another poster, number 1, from a Pittsburgh group. Who wants to go? Are you guys going? Okay, let me find yours.
You've all submitted them, right? Up to Google Drive and Blackboard.
Me too. I can do so. I think I got this one. Okay.
Okay. Is this your poster?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why you think this poster would fit in category 1.
So we picked this poster because they really hit all of the topics on the rubric. They had a very wide variety of data resources that they used. Their analysis and their research was very thoughtful. They clearly thought through every step of the process. The poster visually was very appealing. It wasn't too busy, but they still had graphics, and it was very clear that they knew what they were doing, and they made a very good conclusion.
And what was their conclusion?
Their conclusion was that a bunch of the deaths in the maternal world of healthcare are preventable because of the lack of research done on women in scientific fields.
Ah, very interesting. So it's interesting that this was also a community college poster by a team the very first semester we held community college day jams. This is Laney College in Oakland. Very nice poster. Let's get one more example of poster number 1. Who would like to go? Somebody at Caldwell? All
Who's going? You're all gonna go. We might as well go now. Get it over. Let's go. You wanna go?
I wanna go for 2.
All right, 2. Sarita, how about 1?
okay.
2, Sarita and Forhende.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
We chose this poster because it's very organized. They started with their hypothesis and they put the educational and environmental data. And then it's all put together. As I said before, they have mentioned what challenges were there. And there's like 5 charts that kind of shows us the data.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting that for the 3 teams that have talked so far, when you picked the best poster, you gave it 5s across the board. We have actually never had a single team score a 5 for everything. The judges have been a little more discerning than you are being. I think there's no problem with that. These are, in fact, really, really good posters. And I'm not surprised they're scoring a 5. But as you're going to see, I hope next week, you're going to present posters. And we're going to have all the students in the class score your posters. But we're going to use a new rubric that the board of directors has been working on developing. And one of the problems with this rubric that you're using is we were starting to see a pileup of scores very close to 5. In fact, if we paid attention to your scoring tonight, the situation would have been even worse because you're all piled up right at 5. So we can't see any difference between them. We can't pick a winner when that's the case. So we have now changed the rubric to be scored on a 100-point scoring and scored a little bit differently. But I think it will be really educational for you to kind of get a sense of how to use this rubric, which is the rubric we've used for the last 10 years, and then try the new rubric. And I think you'll get a feel for how to advise your teams on putting things together so that they score well. But very nice job. Let's go on to look. And I'm trying to figure out where. No. Let's look at number 2. I believe number 2 was the poster that you felt scored the worst. Let's have somebody who hasn't spoken yet, a team who hasn't spoken yet.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
Open it up.
Which one? Who is this?
It's Jorge and Tyler.
Oh, okay, perfect. I'm going, it's a PDF. That may be harder. Let me see if I can make it larger. Okay. Okay, here's poster 2 is up. So what were your thoughts on this?
I basically have all the explanation right there in bullet points, but to begin with, we just thought the project was way too redundant in all the resources that it was using. It uses a multitude of resources in the bottom right, and they're all kind of similar to what they're trying to aspire. And then the hypothesis, there's like four different sentences for different questions that they're trying to figure out for the overall project itself. And they analyze the data fairly well. It's just, I mean, you can see it clearly, like I can't really, you can probably zoom into that poster as much as you possibly can and still not be able to read the words that are on it. And the formatting behind the actual like design of the poster itself as well looks a little cluttered and it just doesn't really look visually appealing as well.
I lost it here, sorry.
Not that one.
Not that. Well, sorry about that. Hang on a minute.
I think what might have happened, Judy, is you might have scrolled to the side, and since it wasn't like presented, it might have like gone through the presentation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Hang on, I'll get back to where I should be. Okay. No, it's not this one. I'm sorry.
It was Tyler and Jorge, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, here we go. I'm sorry, I just goofed up with it being a PDF. I think you're right. It is really difficult to read. I think it would be a contender for a poster whose background makes it really hard to pay attention to things.
Yeah, we believe the same thing as well.
Yeah, yeah. And were they able to, they had a lot of hypotheses. Were they able to actually definitively answer their different hypotheses?
Yes and no. I mean, the conclusions were truly all over the place because of how many questions they presented themselves within the research itself. So it's, you know, it's all give and take.
Okay, sounds good. Let's have you guys talk about things and let me see if I can find yours. I thought I had it open just a minute ago.
Yeah, it was the one you had open on accident.
Yeah, good luck, huh?
There we go. That's it.
Okay. Oh, do you have the exact same one?
No,
No.
you're scrolled over to Tyler and Jorge's PDF now.
Oh, okay.
So do you see that arrow on the left, like middle left, at the very edge of the browser window? And
Okay.
you can open this with Google Slides because it's a slideshow. There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna go to slide 2. Here we go.
All right.
Okay, sorry about that.
So this is what we ended up selecting as the lowest scoring poster using our judging matrix. For a couple of reasons. First of which is that there's an organizational void going on with text being unaligned on the analysis side, if it can be called that, of the poster, and the question is quite clear, but the actual like there isn't anything else much of that is besides that.
So you're saying that basically the title is the question and then they have conclusions, but the different sections of the poster aren't demarcated.
Yeah, they don't really have much in the way of of challenges at all, like throughout their entire process. Their methodology is, I presume, the second bullet point, but that is, in fact, like the first sentence, if that. of the one bullet point, which is their two sample t distribution test. That's I guess, and the couple of charts that they have pulled up.
And
But-
so how did they reach the conclusion? Their conclusion is after viewing multiple data sets, we found that internet usage does indeed give an increase to overall quality of life. Can you figure out how they made that conclusion?
Not very easily. They there's a they say that like if we like there's like very low chance like that if you assume the averages are equal that the results will actually match the two graphs that are given. So they're supposing it off of that, but it's not worded very clearly other than like the informal method of like looking at one bar being higher than the other.
Okay, so, and there's no error bars at all. So there's multiple things. You don't have clearly demarcated sections. It's hard to look at the results they got and understand how they reached the conclusion. The results are presented in a very simple way that doesn't have much information in it.
And both internet and Facebook are almost cripplingly broad. Like you can go on Facebook and find diets, like dieting and like gym exercises.
Okay,
Just
so
that.
by saying Facebook, it doesn't tell you anything specific, you're saying. This, and you're given an overall score of 1.53. This does seem like it would be truly not a great poster. Let's have another team present poster number 2.
Good. What, all right, they, what's supposed to be, which one's your group?
6, the last one.
Okay, hang on a minute, let me get there. I am having a little bit of trouble, of course, finding things now that I've got lots of things open. Sorry about that. I've got to go back. Okay, so the last one, this is Stephen Narha. Yep.
Oh, wait. Yeah,
Is this you?
yes, that's us.
Okay, here's poster 2. You want to talk us through this?
So we give the score of 60% because it has only one data set from the Kaggle, and the data set they have is like very limited. Also, overall the visualization is simple for the heat maps. It wasn't very informative. And we basically calculated everything of each category for weighted percentage and then calculated as 100% at the end.
Okay, but in a score of 1 to 5, at 60%, you just multiply 0.6 times 5, right? So you would have a 3, is that right?
Yeah, so 3 out of, so highest rating is 5. So we basically was like 3 for the marking. So 3 out of 5, and then we calculated everything on is 75%. That was like a total, and after that we rescaling to 100%. So
Okay, so you took into account the weights, the scoring weights. So, I mean, I have to say that one good thing about this compared to some of these is you can recognize the different parts of the poster pretty well. But what you're saying is they had one data set and it wasn't particularly relevant to their question. They did a basic ANOVA and a correlation. And so it's a very simple analysis. Unfortunately, they didn't present kind of the raw graphics to show you the correlation. They used heat maps, which are very vague and hard to understand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, very nice. Let's go on and look at question number 3, and somebody else needs to tell me what question number 3 was.
Most sophisticated and analytical.
The most sophisticated analytical one. Who wants to talk about that? Somebody at Caldwell.
Corner, what do you got? Who are you? Give her your name so she can find your.
I need to be able to find your.
Team to,
What is it?
team to, Sumitya, Sigdal and Sogat.
Steam 2.
Okay. Is this you?
No. That was the first one.
Okay. Let me.
Start closing.
I'm sorry. I think I will close these and because this is driving me crazy. Sorry about that. We'll get back here. Okay. Okay, team 2. Here we go, team 2. And we're going to go to your third, find a poster that has the most sophisticated analytical approach. Okay, talk us through this.
Yeah, we chose nuclear and they had a pretty good visualization, but again, it's kind of unsure if it's from like any third-party application or is it like created based on the data that's provided over there, and it's clear and I feel like it's original, right? But still kind of broad, so like a lot of information in uh, the poster, and so in general we give this 3.2 out of 5, and it's really advanced and analytical, explains a lot, but it's kind of both for what we saw.
Yeah, so this was a poster in the community college DataJam last year in 2025. And just like your score is a little lower than you would expect for a group doing such a sophisticated analysis. I mean, they were looking for a way to use real EEG data and see if they could come up with basically, I think, a machine learning paradigm that would allow them to answer some questions. It also didn't score that well by the judges. They felt it was a little convoluted and the analyses didn't clearly explain what they were trying to get at. They didn't really get at the research question. But all of the judges actually agreed that they had undertaken a really complex project. So I think the actual judges would have agreed with you. Very nice job. Somebody else, poster 3.
You guys in the corner, you haven't gone. Who are you?
Group 5.
Group 5. Okay, hang on a minute. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. This is it, most sophisticated. Oh, we saw this one before. Is this it?
Yes.
So why did you look at this as most sophisticated?
It looked overall very sophisticated. The research question was quite clear. They showed that they used multiple data sets and they analyzed the data with SQL and the statistical tests and all the scatter plots. And that's clearly laid out the conclusion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they used multiple data sets to get at the question linking environment to education. They looked at that in a complex manner. They didn't look at just one environmental factor. They looked at multiple factors. And the use of SQL for organization and filtering is very nice. And they did use several approaches, although they are relatively simple approaches. But it's a very nice job. Another example in Pittsburgh.
You can do ours.
Yeah, let's do yours. Hang on a minute. Okay, one. Okay.
We chose this one just because it used Python to also help back up what their data was ultimately summarizing for us. So I just thought that was a unique thing that that group did versus a lot of the other ones.
So they did their own coding.
Yeah.
In Python.
Yeah.
So that is very nice. And you give them a score of 4.77, which would be something that probably is very similar to what the judges had given. They also have a very nice map there. And they show you location data. And that takes a fair level of sophistication to do that. There have been a few DataJam teams that have done that, and they've all been very, very nice. So including location data, I think, is always very nice. Let's go on to question number 4. What was question number 4?
Poster that has the best use of graphics to show.
The best use of graphics. Who wants to talk about question number 4? Has everybody talked at this point?
Yeah,
How about-
everybody here has done at least once.
Okay. Well, why don't we go to Sharon, Stephen, and Marianne? Do you want to talk about your number 4?
Yes, yes, you
Yes, you do. Okay, hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4.
can.
Okay. Oh, again, we've seen this one again. So you thought it had the best graphics. Can you explain why?
Because the figures are clear, the tables, they are on one side instead of being all over the place. They have categorized the data on one end and description on the other end, so I think that makes the user graphics nice.
Yeah. One thing that I teach in the class on presentation skills is when you want people to compare things like one group to another, it's really good to put the figures side by side or one right on top of the other so your eyes can make a visual comparison. And the way they've set up their graphs in panel 3 for the results, you're able to look at the difference between these really nicely. So the setup, not only are the graphs clear and the colors are clearly differentiated from each other, but putting them side by side really helps a lot too. Nice job. Do you guys want to talk about your number 4?
Sure.
Okay, let me go back here. Okay, tell us why you chose this.
We chose it I mean, in terms of like graphics, usually like especially for location data, heat maps will prove to be a very effective tool. So we ended up choosing this, let's grab a bite to eat. It was comparing, I believe, like the amount of fresh food, the like fresh food vendors to like to health code violations. It's
Yes.
isolated on here, but yeah, that was the main thing, and it was able to, like as you said, side by side.
Right, side by side, so your eye immediately picks up that they have very similar patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and many of the teams have used Tableau Public. It's a publicly available program. On our resources page, we have quite a few videos on how to use Tableau Public. Because it's freely available to everybody and it does a fantastic job of graphing map data and geospatial location data. So I strongly suggest that if you end up mentoring a team that's going to want to look at location data, that you consider Tableau Public and you look at the many resources we have on the resources page for that. One other group with question number 4.
Yeah, well, which one are you, Tyler?
The fourth one.
Right above you, down.
This one.
Yep.
Okay. So explain why you thought this had really good graphics.
So it's comparing the earthquake situation between Japan and Haiti. And they're talking about, they showed the location, geographic location, how the platelets are aligned, giving them a history about it. Then later on, they're showing the GDP and how it affects with the graphs, how the economy is getting affected side by side with the graphs. So I think this is a nice use of graphical representation.
Yeah, and again, I think a take-home message that you want to be taking as mentors is that side-by-side presentation when you're making comparisons is a really good thing to do. And they have a variety of different graphs here. So I agree, this is very nice. I see you scored 90 out of 100, of course, but you would want to multiply 0.9 times 5 to actually get
Yeah.
the score. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 5. I'm going to just close some of these. What was number 5?
Best use of color.
The best use of color. Who wants to talk about number 5?
Yeah, Tyler.
Tyler and Jorge.
Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, here we go. Again, you ranked it a 5 out of 5. The teams would love you guys. That's what I have to say. So explain to us why you think this is the best use of color.
So I chose this poster because I feel like the information flows with the book style format with the different colors, and you're still able to see the text through the white and through the colors of the book, and it just like attracts the audience to like want to learn more information about the poster just because of how it looks.
Yeah.
On the bottom of it, some words are in bold, which makes it kind of stand out more on the lighter background, which is also a good way to use color. So I feel like everything kind of like flows together, which makes it really nice.
And I think it would have been a contender for a kind of good use of graphics. I think what's nice is they got all the sections of the poster labeled. You can see on the lower book that each section is labeled, so you know how to find different things. But the overall style is intriguing, so it does really capture your attention. I think this is a very good pick. Pittsburgh group. Okay, Joey. Oh, hang on a minute. Well, sometimes I'm not as good in Google Drive as I wish. I apologize. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Okay. Why did you pick this one?
All right. So we picked this poster because first of all, the choice of colors is very easy to look at. You don't have any really bright neons or any too dull colors that kind of turn you away from the image visually. And they use the colors in a pretty interesting way to categorize the information. So like the orange column is all background information. The orange is the central question and hypothesis. They have challenges, methodology, and analysis and conclusion. And the way the poster is organized, like these colored columns really direct your vision to read the entire column before moving on to the next one. And it helps color code the different sections of the poster. My one thing organizationally, I wish they had maybe separated the graphs a bit from the information and maybe done a bit more to distinguish like where those fall in content wise.
Right, because the graph in the orange doesn't seem like it's really part of the background. It
Correct.
seems like it must be part of their results. And the same with the next column, it's not really part of the hypothesis.
Right. So there's just how the overall poster is organized. There's some things that don't add up organizationally, but that doesn't necessarily have to do with the use of color itself.
And they have a variety of graphic strategies with a lot of geospatial maps, which is very nice. I think the other thing is because the geospatial maps are kind of, they're not exactly side by side, but it's really easy for your eye to see that the dark areas in the orange match the dark areas in the blue, for example.
Yeah.
But that's not matching the ones in the green. Yeah, very nice. One more team question and number 5.
Like to go. Good two.
How about-
How
How about this one? How about Jacques Debus? Seems
Perfect.
like we can
They
we
want to
look.
do it.
Oh, they do. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Come on up, come on. Come on.
Okay.
So they can see. Okay.
So tell us your thinking.
So we chose this poster because it kept a consistent color scheme with the 3 colors only. It looked professional for me. The limited number of colors avoids distraction and keeps the attention to what is necessary. I feel like the charts and graphs use the same color scheme, which kept the image consistent and easy to read. I like the white background because it makes the text more readable and it prevents the design from feeling too heavy. And at the end scored it myself out of 85. I feel like that's a fair score.
Yeah, I really like, I'm assuming, I haven't looked at this carefully, but I'm assuming that in the different graphs, the blue color represents the same thing.
Definitely.
And yeah, and the red color represents the same thing. And being able to look from graph to graph, and the color helps you organize who are you looking at, is a really, really nice feature. I also agree that this looks very professional. And so that's a positive, and it's clean. You don't look at it and go, oh, I'm confused. There's really clear labels, and you know where to find everything. Very good. Okay, let's go on to number 6. What was number 6?
Most busy background.
Most busy background. Okay, what do we think? Who wants to talk? Okay, here we go. Let's see. Aha.
So we said that because like of like the graphics and the colors that they chose, even though like it's in the background, it kind of looks like the lines are like over the text. And it's just like very busy and not very well laid out. So we
Ye-
said it was not.
Yeah, and in fact, because the background is actually something you recognize, notes on a scale, you feel like you should be looking there. And when you look at their pie charts, they have a ton of different colors, and it's hard to make out. I mean, what would be what and what the take-home message would be. So you're very, very distracted by the background. I think this was a good choice. Not a good choice on their part, though. Who else wants to talk about background?
Well, gone yet. Let's see. You guys did 2. How many have you done? Which one are you? Go ahead. Oh,
Who is this?
It's the team 2 again.
Team 2, okay. And here we go. Okay. I remembered this one. Okay, what do you think? What's your thinking on this?
From the start, it's the overlay of the text itself. That's like a lot of confusion already. And the pencil graphic on the left hand side, and also the graphs. I can see that like those are like the scatter plots, but I had no idea it was like a landmark of the area, restaurants and the parking, right? So, and the font colors, and I think it's like Poppins, right? The font, just italic. So that was
Right.
kind of, it's kind of like really hard to distinguish between the headings and the paragraphs, and yeah.
Right. And so I think what strikes me, and I commend you on this choice, because this is kind of the exact opposite of what you want. You want your eye to be drawn to the important results that really tell the story. And your eye is drawn to the graphs less than to everything else. Everything else stands out besides the graphs. Like you said, the titles are in different fonts and different colors, and they're big and bold, and you have the pencil drawing on the side, and the graphs just are very pale and faded. So your eye is not drawn to them. And so it's a really good example, I think, of what you don't want to do. Another example, you guys want to go. Okay, here we go. I think I have yours open. Here we go. Aha.
Okay.
Here we are.
So this kind of I was between this one and another similarly beaver themed poster. Um, I'm not entirely sure which school this was because it's not on the poster, but the
This
background.
is a school in Bisbee, Arizona.
Okay.
To their credit, they're in a very impoverished
Mhm.
area, and Bisbee is also right on the Mexican border. They were working on this project at the beginning of the Trump administration, and the administration kept closing the border, so these kids couldn't get to school on a really regular basis. But they did all 7 teams completed their DataJam projects. So we may identify some things that aren't great about it, but I think the DataJam as a whole was very, very proud of these students for continuing with their projects. So
Yeah. So this background I found very busy. I feel like distracting is the better word for me personally because it is a picture and it's a picture that's relevant to the research question. But I found myself spending more time trying to figure out what the background was rather than looking at the text, even though the text is rather large and is like white backgrounded, which in theory should make it easier on the eyes. And I picked this poster specifically because there is another picture of the river that they were studying. They were looking at the impact of beavers, like beaver repopulation in the San Pedro River. And the background is heavily interfering with the graphic because from a distance, I can tell that that's a separate picture, but I'm not sure if it's a similar picture as to what it's in the background. It's just very confusing.
yeah, no, I think that is true. I think that's very true. Okay, I am going to stop sharing here so we can all see ourselves. And we're going to spend the last few minutes, we have 15 minutes more, just talking about from today's exercise, what are some key messages you've learned that you would want to convey to your teams that you're mentoring about how to make their posters? So we should have kind of a list of things that kind of do's and don'ts. So let's start with the do's. And you can just call out what you're thinking.
They're all gonna go. Which one of the dudes are gonna have?
Compare charts side by side.
Okay?
Charts side by side. If you want to compare, put the things you want to compare side by side. That's fantastic.
About
Charts and put highlights on the text,
what was that? Highlights on what?
the text and,
Highlight the text?
yeah, so.
Highlight the text where you're trying to draw attention. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I
based on
think-
recordings.
right. You want to have the text be big enough that it can be read. You want it to be on a background that's clear enough that it's easy to read it. And highlighting things that are important is a really good idea. Over here.
We're gonna keep going around, Judy.
I was gonna say that when picking your,
What?
for your research, for your project, what's needed, I would say quality over quantity.
Okay, so
That's okay.
quality of what? I think I'm having a little trouble following.
Quality of the research
The
data?
research, yeah, I just, I'm blanking on the word.
So you're saying that rather than doing a lot of different analyses, it would be good to try to choose an analysis that would exactly answer the research question. Is that right?
Yeah, going back to what we spoke about beforehand, when it came to the poster that was, that wasn't really great. I recall having so many data sets and, a lot of redundant data, so I would rather than if I have any advice for a group, it would be to have quality data sets instead of quantity. Not so many, but make sure that they're, useful.
Yeah. And I think there's another take home message from that was a really good example. You want to have a really clear question with a really clear hypothesis, because then it'll be easier to understand how the analysis answers the question. The problem with the poster that you pointed out was that there were lots of hypotheses and lots of analyses, but it was hard to get an overall take-home message from that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. We have a idea in Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, I was gonna say just like keep their posters like relatively simple. Like don't like a lot of the posters when they tried to be like very creative and they had a lot of different like backgrounds and colors, it ended up doing more harm than good. So just like to keep it like pretty simple and add like a little bit of personality, but not so much that takes away from the point of the poster.
Right. And I think that's a really good way of putting it. You want people to look at the poster, and what stands out is the answer to the question, the data analysis answer to the question. Your eyes should be drawn to that. And so that's the important point. Lots of pictures and colors can be very distracting from that. So although we like to have creativity, we still want the main focus to be how did they do the analysis to answer the research question? That's a very good piece of advice. Other ideas on do's that you've learned from what we've done today?
Good.
Making sure that each subject is, clear so that the audience is able to see, like, say, if it's like the hypothesis, like just any subject, making sure that it's clear and that all the information is right under it.
Right. So you can look at the poster and you know exactly where to find each piece of information, I think is what you're saying. So you know where the question is, you know where the hypothesis is, you know where the conclusions are. That is key. And if you have to search around, that is going to make it very hard for the judges to be sure that they actually see things. So clear categories is a good idea. Other do's from Pittsburgh, yes.
If you're going to be using location stuff, then having a geospatial chart is generally a very good idea.
Yes, geospatial charts. If location matters, and it turns out that over the years, a lot of DataJam projects have compared one location to another location, or even within a single city, different parts of the city to other parts of the city. Whenever you're asking a geospatial question, there are some very cool geospatial mapping tools, and you should encourage your teams to use them because it makes a huge difference. And it means that your eye is just immediately drawn to a really relevant piece of data. So what are some don'ts that you learned from today?
Don't use a busy, distracting background.
Yes, don't use a distracting background.
Organize your chart well.
Don't open one. Run the dome.
These are don'ts.
Oh, no,
Don'ts.
sorry. You said to me, do distracting backgrounds. Yeah, don't have, wait. Have enough grass. Well, we don't.
How about
Anyone else?
don'ts? Okay, we have a don't here in Pittsburgh.
If you're going to be using some type of graphs or other stuff generated by either Excel or Google Sheets, please make sure they don't look like they break all of your formatting by being white like pure white against like, I don't know, like a green background or something like that. So that it's like glaring. If that makes sense.
I'm having a little trouble figuring out, you're saying that some color combinations are jarring.
Yes, like especially if you do have like a monocolored background, then throwing like the white graphs on it, like on top of it, will look jarring in much the same way that like having text with like a white highlighter on it against a colored background
Yeah,
might be.
is jarring. You want things to be easy to discern, basically, easy to look at, easy to see, easy to make out the details. So you want to think about what the graphics look like. I noticed that a lot of teams use a wide variety of colors in their graphs. So if I look at a graph and there are 10 colors on it, I'm immediately thinking, no way am I going to be able to figure out what this is about. So you want them to think about using colors in a way that allows you to understand the graphs better. Other ideas for things you don't want to do.
What else in here?
Don't use crazy fonts.
Crazy fonts?
Yeah, don't use crazy fonts. That's a good one.
Don't forget your name.
Don't forget your names.
Don't forget your names or the name of your school. There were a number of posters that don't have the school name on them.
Yeah, I know.
I think many posters lack some of the sections that judges are scoring on. So the scoring rubric asks, do they have all the sections? That's an easy one to do well. That's just a checklist. It tells you in the instructions what sections there have to be. When you're helping your team with their poster, make sure they have those sections. If they're missing a section, that will be a problem. Okay, I think that this was useful. Do you feel like you have a much better idea how to make your own posters? Okay.
And what did the post do?
Put your posters in the poster subfolder in mock DataJam Project 1 by 6 o'clock next week, and we will hear your presentations next week. Nice job, everybody.
Everyone's ready to present, right?
Yes, they're all going to present, and it would be good if every single student in the class had at least a small talking role.
Yes, everyone must talk. I agree 100%. Everyone will talk, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Judy, we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.